What if I told you that the only thing separating you from the top 1% isn't money, power, or even talent, but how you think every single day? The rules of the game haven't changed, but the players who win, they play differently. And after today, so will you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not here by accident. You've been pulled by the gravity of ambition. The fire in your gut telling you there's more. You see, the top 1% don't just live differently, they think, act, and commit differently. Let me begin with a truth that most people will never hear and even fewer will accept. The life you dream of is already within reach, but only if you're ready to become the kind of person who can hold it. The top 1% don't live by luck or lottery. They live by law. The laws of thought, behavior, discipline, and service. Let's begin with the first law, identity over income. Before the mansion, before the millions, before the name, it starts in the mind. The top 1% act as if before they are. They walk into rooms not asking what can I get, but how would the person I'm becoming act here? Money is not their god, it is a servant to their standard. Second, obsession is a requirer. They are not interested, they are possessed by their purpose. The world may mock their focus until it envies their results. While others balance comfort with ambition, they let the flame of purpose burn everything unnecessary. Third, discipline is their weapon of choice. While the masses view discipline as a cage, the elite know it's the key. They master themselves before they ever try to master the world. They wake up when it's hard. They train when it's boring. They finish what they start. Fourth, they curate their environment. Look around you. Your surroundings are not innocent. The top 1% audit their friends, their media, their habits. They do not apologize for growing beyond the people who refuse to grow with them. Fifth, they fail forward. Fast. The failure is not feared, it is fed on. Each mistake is data, each loss is a lesson. While others fall and stay down, the top 1% fall forward, faster, smarter, and stronger every time. And finally, sixth, service over self. The elite don't just want to win for themselves. They solve problems that matter. They ask whose life gets better because I exist. And then they build answers so big the world has to pay attention. So I ask you right now, are you willing to act like the 1% before the world sees you as one of them? Because here's the truth. You will never live like the top 1% until you think, move, and lead like them. This isn't motivation, this is transformation, and it begins the moment you say, enough playing small. It's time to build something eternal. Before wealth ever enters the bank account, it is first forged in the mind. The top 1% do not obsess over paychecks, they obsess over identity. They understand that income is the byproduct of who you become, not the goal itself. Most people chase money like it's running away from them, but the 1% attract it. Why? Because they carry themselves with the energy, the habits, and the decisiveness of someone who is already worthy of abundance. They don't wait to become successful before they act successful. They step into that identity before a single dollar arrives. Your identity sets the thermostat for your entire life. If you believe you are only worth $50,000, 0 cents a year, you will sabotage, resist, or overlook every opportunity that tries to take you beyond it. But if you decide deeply, without apology, that you are someone who earns 7 figures, adds massive value, and moves with purpose, your reality begins to align with that identity, not by magic, but by congruence. The 1% study themselves the way others study celebrities. They build themselves brick by brick, choosing traits deliberately, resilience, precision, poise under pressure. They speak differently, think strategically, and carry themselves with a quiet intensity that commands attention without ever asking for it. They understand that income without identity is a temporary win. You can hand $1 million to someone who sees themselves as average and they will unconsciously find a way to lose it. But when you hardwire the mindset of a builder, a leader, a force, money becomes a natural consequence of how you move through the world. Most people ask, what should I do to make more money? The 1% ask, who must I become to attract the life I want? They reverse engineer their future identity and live from that place long before the external world agrees. You'll find them dressing for the role before it pays them. You'll hear them speaking with conviction before the stage is offered. You'll watch them respect time, energy, and environment, not because they're rich, but because they've decided to become someone who moves like value. This is the separation, not talent, not connections, not even timing, but identity. Who you believe you are sets the ceiling, and that ceiling is not made of glass, it's made of thought. The average person is taught to seek balance, to pursue goals with caution, to avoid going too far in any direction. But the top 1% were never interested in balance. They were consumed by purpose, and that purpose didn't ask for permission to take over their lives. To the outside world, obsession looks unhealthy. It looks like someone working too late, talking too passionately, dreaming too big, risking too much. But to the 1%, it's not obsession, it's alignment. When every cell in your body is pointed toward a vision, it doesn't feel like overworking, it feels like oxygen. It feels like life. The world praises moderation because it's safe, comfortable, predictable. But greatness never came from moderation. No one builds an empire part-time. No one shatters limits with a casual interest. You can't want it sometimes and expect full-time results. The top 1% treat their mission like a sacred obsession, not a weekend hobby. They don't apologize for their intensity. They don't water down their energy to make others comfortable. They are fixated on progress. They wake up thinking about the vision. They fall asleep strategizing how to push it further. Their dreams aren't wishful. They're engineered. Obsession sharpens them. It makes their why non-negotiable. While others take breaks for comfort, they push through for clarity. While others need motivation to move, they move because they are compelled. They are driven not by external rewards, but by an internal force that won't let them settle. You can see it in their eyes, the hunger, the fire, the absolute refusal to be average. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're not chasing approval. They are chasing a standard that they set, and it's higher than anyone else could impose. They're not easily distracted because their focus is locked in like a missile. People call them obsessed like it's an insult. They smile because they know that obsession is the reason they can outlast, outwork, and outthink anyone who only wants it a little. Obsession is not about working blindly. It's about caring so deeply that you refuse to let anything come between you and the mission. The top 1% don't have backup plans. They have one plan: win or learn, grow or evolve, burn through the limits. While the rest of the world hedges their bets, the obsessed go all in, not once, every single day. They are not interested in balance because they've found something worth tipping the scale for. They've chosen a life of intensity over a life of neutrality. Their friends may not understand it, their family might question it, but they are not waiting to be understood. They are building something that will one day be undeniable. To most people, discipline feels like chains, restrictions, rules, sacrifice, a heavy burden to carry. But to the top 1%, discipline isn't a cage, it's the key. It's not what confines them, it's what sets them free. Because freedom isn't doing whatever you want, whenever you want. That's impulse, that's chaos, that's slavery to your moods, your distractions, your weaknesses. Real freedom is the ability to command yourself, to move when it's hard, to stay locked in when the world tempts you with comfort. Discipline gives you that power. The top 1% are not the smartest in the room. They are the most consistent. They don't depend on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline endures. It wakes them up when the bed is warm. It keeps them working when no one's watching. It drives them to train, to read, to improve. Not when they feel like it, but because they said they would. They understand that every time they follow through on a commitment, they strengthen something invisible: self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of power. You can't build anything great on self-doubt, procrastination, or excuses. Discipline is what separates those who talk from those who deliver. You won't see them wasting time debating whether or not they feel like showing up. They've already decided. They show up anyway, because they know that feelings are temporary, but results are permanent. They don't chase dopamine, they chase legacy. And legacy requires endurance. Not for a week, not for a season, but for years. Discipline isn't just about saying no to distractions. It's about saying yes to the future version of you. Every meal they prep, every early morning, every late night, every rep, every choice, it's all a brick laid in the foundation of who they're becoming. And that version, that future self, it demands excellence now. While the world glorifies ease, the elite respect structure. While most people are addicted to comfort, the 1% are addicted to control. Not control of others, but mastery of themselves. And that control creates momentum, that momentum creates confidence, and that confidence builds empires. They don't complain that success is hard, they respect that it's hard, and they want it that way, because when something is hard, most people won't do it, and the fewer who will, the more valuable it becomes. Discipline is their competitive advantage. It is the silent weapon that no one sees until it's too late to compete with. They design their day not around their cravings, but around their commitments. They don't let emotions dictate action, they let action train emotion. They don't live on reaction, they live on intention. Every action has purpose, every habit has a reason, every routine is built with the future in mind. And when the world looks at them and wonders how they stay so sharp, so focused, so far ahead, they won't understand that it wasn't a moment of inspiration that got them there. It was discipline, repeated endlessly, quietly, ruthlessly, until it became their nature. Success doesn't happen in a vacuum. You can have the hunger, the vision, the drive, but if your environment is misaligned, it will choke your momentum without mercy. The top 1% understand that where you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what surrounds you on a daily basis is not just background noise, it's programming. Your environment is always speaking to you. It's whispering what's normal. It's showing you what's acceptable. And over time, you begin to reflect it. If the people around you treat goals casually, you will too. If you surround yourself with those who settle, laugh at ambition, or make excuses, don't be surprised when you start to dim your fire just to fit in. The top 1% are relentless in curating their surroundings. They know that environment is not passive, it is instructive. It shapes behavior, it shapes decisions. It either reinforces your standards or it erodes them slowly, invisibly. And so they audit everything, who they talk to, what they consume, what energy they allow into their space, not because they're arrogant, but because they're aware. They don't wait until they're successful to demand a high-performance environment. They build it in advance. They understand that the environment has to match the identity of the person they are becoming. They remove clutter because it clouds focus. They minimize noise because it distracts directions. They surround themselves with people who stretch them, challenge them, hold them accountable, not those who validate comfort. They know that the voices around them either fuel their ambition or feed their doubt. Every interaction matters. Every room you walk into is either pulling you forward or pulling you back. It's either echoing your greatness or encouraging your stagnation. They look around and ask, does this space reflect my goals? Do these conversations elevate me or drain me? Does this culture align with the life I say I want? And if the answer is no, they change it. Not someday, not when it's convenient, immediately. Because they've seen it happen, the most driven people lose years of growth trying to thrive in environments that are working against them. They try to drag their old world with them into their new one. But the top 1% know you can't outwork a toxic environment forever. Eventually, it catches you. It dulls your vision. It makes you question what you once knew was possible. So they protect their mental space with the same intensity others protect their bank accounts. They treat their energy like a currency, because it is. They understand that proximity is power. that being around one person with world-class standards can elevate you more than reading 100 books, that a room filled with winners speaks a language that changes your identity just by being there. They seek out those who live in alignment with where they're headed, not where they've been. They upgrade their circle before they upgrade their income. They know that you become what surrounds you, not what inspires you. Inspiration fades, but immersion changes you. And the moment you start honoring your environment as a reflection of your self-worth, your standards begin to rise automatically. You stop tolerating low-energy people. You stop entertaining distractions disguised as downtime. You stop letting your space betray your vision. Because once you realize that every inch of your environment is telling a story, you begin to write a new one. The top 1% have an entirely different relationship with failure. They don't fear it. They don't avoid it. They invite it. Because they know something most people never realize. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the process of success. It's not a wall. It's a doorway. And the faster they get to it, the faster they move forward. They are not paralyzed by the idea of getting it wrong. They are energized by the chance to learn something real. While the average person is still sitting in the corner waiting for the perfect time, the top 1% are out in the arena, testing, building, breaking, adjusting, improving. Over and over again, they don't romanticize perfection. They don't need the plan to be flawless before taking action. They move quickly with intensity because they know speed is a weapon. They'd rather learn from 10 failures than daydream about one perfect shot they never take. To them, every mistake is feedback. Every setback is data. Every flaw is a feature pointing toward growth. This is what gives them the edge, iteration. They move from one version of themselves to the next with no emotional baggage. They don't crumble when things go wrong. They're too busy studying the wreckage, extracting the lesson, and launching the next version. They treat every failure like a professor, and they attend the class with eagerness, not shame. And here's what separates them further. They're not just learning what went wrong, they're learning why. They break it down. They assess the decision, the timing, the mindset, the execution. They get forensic about their process. They don't just try again, they try again better. Meanwhile, the average person takes a hit and builds a story around it. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should slow down. The 1% don't talk like that. They don't internalize failure as identity. They weaponize it. They extract every ounce of wisdom from it and pour it into the next attempt with sharper vision and stronger resolve. They also know how to let go, fast. They don't dwell, they don't replay losses in their heads like a broken record. They analyze, adapt, and act. Time is too valuable to be wasted on regret. Every hour spent moping is an hour not learning. And they treat time like gold. They embrace discomfort. They build a tolerance for feedback that would make most people defensive. Because they understand you can't grow if you need to protect your ego more than your mission. They are coachable, even at the top. Especially at the top, because the higher they climb, the more they understand that rapid learning is the only way to stay sharp in a world that never stops changing. They seek challenges that expose their weaknesses, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they crave the progress. They want the blind spots revealed. They want the friction that sharpens. They'd rather look foolish once than stay stagnant forever. They'd rather hear the truth than live in comfort. This is why they rise while others plateau. They don't just move fast, they evolve fast. Because failure doesn't slow them down, it accelerates them. The top 1% understand something that the rest of the world often overlooks. The greatest power doesn't come from chasing applause, it comes from creating impact. Their fuel isn't self-importance, it's service. They don't just build for themselves, they build for something beyond themselves. That's why their work endures. That's why their influence multiplies. They've transcended the need to be seen. They're not in the game for validation, likes, or attention. They are here to solve problems, to lift others, to move the world forward. They aren't obsessed with looking successful. They are obsessed with being useful. While most people ask, what can I get? They ask, what can I give that no one else can? And in that giving, they unlock everything others are chasing. The average mind looks at service as sacrifice, like giving means losing. But the elite know that true service is multiplication. When you pour value into the world doesn't take from you, it reflects you. It magnifies what you give. And the 1% pour with full hands. They bring clarity, solutions, vision, leadership, courage, over and over again without needing immediate return. Because they understand long-term equity, they know that impact creates reputation, and reputation creates doors that money can't buy. They don't hoard knowledge, they share it. They don't protect ideas out of fear. They release them into the world, knowing that value spreads faster than secrecy. They build movements, not just products. They leave people better, not just impressed. Their legacy is not tied to what they own, but to what they shift, in minds, in systems, in generations. They operate from purpose, not ego. And that's why they can outlast anyone operating purely for status. Ego burns out. Purpose sustains. When the applause fades, when the audience walks away, when the cameras are off, the person operating from service is still going, because the mission is deeper than the moment. They lead differently too. Their leadership is not about hierarchy, it's about responsibility. They take ownership not just of outcomes, but of people. They listen with intention, they guide with integrity, they elevate those around them because they understand that success is not real if it isolates you at the top. It only matters if you bring others with you. Service is not weakness. It's power under control. It's strength with direction. It's the ability to hold massive capability without the need to dominate. And this makes them magnetic. People want to follow them. They don't have to force influence. They earn it by showing up with consistent value and unwavering principles. This is why their success is sustainable, because it's not just rooted in skill, but in meaning. They are playing a bigger game, a longer game, one that doesn't stop at personal wealth, but pushes toward generational change, cultural shift, industry disruption. Their question is always, what legacy am I leaving behind? They don't measure greatness by how much they accumulate. They measure it by how deeply they contribute, because they know, deep in their core, that everything they build becomes hollow if it only serves themselves. True wealth, true success, true leadership, it begins and ends with service.